sadly departed Bob Crow. Geoff's on the Council of Executives for the RMT. He's been a member of the RMT, an active member of the RMT for over 50 years. He's worked personally with Bob for many of those years. Indeed, he's been his personal assistant for 12 years. So without any further ado, I'd like to call on Geoff Revell, please, to join us on stage.
Just a small correction, Chair. I'm not a member of the Executive Committee, but I've been sent here by the President of our union and the Council of Executives to bring greetings and thanks for you allowing time for me to give a tribute on their behalf to this meeting. I'm also bringing a message from Bob's partner, Nicky, and his family, and it's a message of solidarity to success of this meeting. I'm going to say what I'm going to say next because I can feel the man looking at me and daring me not to mention it. There's another meeting going off today at 3 o'clock at Millwall. And they've got an important match on today. Nicky's there in Bob's seat. The players are going to give tribute. It's in the programme for the day, and the whole of the crowd will be playing their tribute to Bob Crow. And if something doesn't give your team chair a bit of an inspiration to win, I don't know what will. Of course, you must understand that the organisation that I'm representing today is in a bit of a trouble. You can't have somebody like Bob Crow as a leader of the union and just shrug it off and say, well, we've got a vacancy. When you were in a union with Bob Crow, he was in your life, not just at your branches and at your workplace. So of course, we're experience a great loss. But to come on the back of that, the death of Bob's friend Tony Benn, it's really difficult for us to take the weekend. It is, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. I read a little saying yesterday. Leaders don't flock, they arrive one at a time. Well, we've lost a couple of precious ones this week, and let's hope somebody arrives soon. They did have more than the obvious in common, but people out there ought to understand. They're ours, aren't they? They're from us. They're our people that we lost this week, bonded together as socialists. And that's our loss. When Bob was getting formalising his thoughts politically, because he was a young man in a world that was greatly influenced at that time by socialists like Tony Benn. And I was sort of reminded of Bob's age. He's 52 years of age, and it wasn't that long ago then. 30 years back, when Bob's getting active, politically active amongst his class. A world where the National Health Service was still held in highest esteem by this nation. That wonderful thing that the people of this country gifted one another and gave us, the generations that come after, the role to keep that gift and pass it on to our children. That's the world that Bob Crow was brought up in, and recognised his duty to do just that. It was a world, I remind you, Conrad, there's some people, listen, I'm as old as I look, but there's some people here, I have to remind myself, probably won't know what it was like those years ago. We owned the gas, we owned the water, we owned electricity, we owned the railway, we owned the coal mine. When you own things, it empowers you. Privatisation of those industries has disempowered you. And that's what Bob Crow understood in his politics. He became an active member of a trade union movement that was 13 million strong. 13 million, we're down to 6 now. 13 million. Unburdened by anti-trade union laws, we were free to operate under the protection of the 1906 Trade Disputes Act, where the boss class couldn't come near us when we chose to fight. All that was taken away from us. You know, a few weeks back, Bob Crow and his members were subjected to the most disgusting attack from the news media in this country that we've ever seen since Scargill during the miners' dispute. Absolutely disgraceful. All arising from a section of our membership on the London Underground striking for 2 days. Unwarranted, unheard of attack. It's because they're scared of us. That's where their anger comes from. And Bob wouldn't want me to be here without delving behind that dispute so you can see the true reasons for it. And I'm pleased to do it because it's a mark of his success in organising workers in our industries. That strike down there, let me remind people, was the most selfless act by a group of trade unionists that in my 54 years I've ever witnessed. Those workers down there lost hundreds of pounds and committed themselves to losing further hundreds of pounds. Money they can't afford to lose. And if this dispute is won hands down, not 1 penny of that money will they get back. Not one improvement at their workplace will take place on an individual basis. So why did they strike? Because they wanted it. The downturn in this economic climate has brought this government to attack our class as we've never seen it before. And they want to take away 1,000 jobs out of London, of the London Underground. And let me tell you what these jobs are. They're jobs that people like Bob Crow fought for. Jobs that you can earn money to put food on the table, pay your rent, have a bit over, to have some kind of roses in your life. They're coming to take those jobs away. Bob Crow's leadership of our union inspired those workers down there to say no, because they wouldn't look one of our 1 million young people in this country who can't face up to the conditions that they're suffering with no work by abandoning 1,000 jobs. It was a selfless act to protect work for working people. And you should acknowledge that and tell people out there that that's part of Bob Crow's inheritance. On the Sunday following the strike. Bob Crow came down to the town where I live. He has family there. And at lunchtime, well, I'll be frank with you, we went out on the beer. And we sat down with the newspapers, going through them, the usual filth. And I noticed something. We were laughing. Bob was reading all this stuff about him and laughing. And one of the reasons we found it, they'd surely used up everything. Surely, when all this was over, they would have no weapons left in their arsenal. And I guess, probably, we were wrong, because we wouldn't have seen that the strike hadn't gone off on the following week. But it was one of the stories that they carried that he found great amusement in. When the RMT is a merged organisation from the National Union of Railwaymen and the National Union of Seafarers. And when we came together, we found out we got two headquarters. One at Euston and one at this lovely building over Clapham called Maritime House. So we chose to keep the building at Euston as our headquarters. Maritime House is something that we own, and there's a job centre in there that rented firm facilities, private tenants, and so forth. And Bob got out one of these newspapers and he said, look at this. Apparently they've got a picture of this building over at Clapham in the paper, and it's the RMT part of the RMT's property empire. All this council house stuff, you know, it's just the front with us. We've really got the McCoy in a way, in our property empire. Now, once a year at this place, Bob has this party, stick up a marquee, a few beers, and raise money for the Cubans as our part in undermining the American trade embargo. That's all it is once a year. People come from all over the movement. So this journalist goes around and he's knocking on doors in another one. And apparently adjoining Unity Maritime House is this 1791 listed building worth about £2.5 million. Goes and knocks on the door and asks the man who answers what it's like living next door to a property that's owned by the Red Menace. So of course the man was happy to oblige and reveal to him the goings on in there. Every year they have Cubans out the back. And they sing socialist anthems. Drink alcohol and go home at 10 o'clock at night. I'll tell you what Bob's take on that was. Look, Geoff, I don't mind all this other stuff, but this makes us look like a load of boring old bastards. Bob transformed our union through his own efforts. I've got so much to say here, but I don't want to abuse the time. And I know you've got much to get on with, and there'll be other stuff, memorials for Bob elsewhere that you can do. But I would like to close on this, a message from our Council of Executives. And it's to the journalists that might be here. There's a lot of people here. And who knows? Bob's new friends in the world of journalism might give you a break today and put what's happening here in the paper. If they do, I hope they might pick up now, as I close, A statement from our Executive Committee. You may think that the death of our leader will be a fatal blow to our organisation. You are wrong. Bob Crow is dead, but we inherit his legacy. Our militancy and awareness of the situation in which our social class finds itself remains intact. When you bite us, we will still bite you back. When you attack us, our lives at work, we will resist. But more, when your relentless attack on our class continues, we will make common cause with the people in this hall and outside who want to resist that. And we will join them and we will fight you. We will fight you. We will fight you. That's Bob Crow's inheritance.